Hey folks, Reviewy McReviewface coming back at you, and today we're going to go from a blocker save to saving a blocker. Yeah, so as you may have seen in one of my recent videos, I took a goaltending lesson and absolutely loved it. Never had a chance to play as a kid, but now I'm in my 40s and I'm taking my shot. I don't think I'm going to make the NHL, but I have found some opportunities where I'm going to get out and get a chance to play goal. Now, I managed to find some really good deals on used equipment, but one of the problems with the used gear that I got is blocker does the job, but the hand on it obviously had some problems. So if you can see here, there are some massive holes in these fingers here. The palm's not in bad shape, but the fingers, there's a hole in the fabric here, and the rest of it is just the stitching is ripped out and the leather or whatever this is worn away. So obviously not going to be ideal for playing. So I looked into it, and yes, there are places you can go to get a blocker repalmed for about $100. Or, you know, I could just buy a brand new blocker. They're not overly expensive. But the one thing I couldn't find online was any DIY suggestions on how to repalm your own blocker. So I thought today I'd take a shot at it. I am not an expert. I am not an equipment repairman. I'm barely a goalie. This is the first blocker I've ever had, and obviously I just wanted to work a little better. So your mileage may vary in trying to follow this tutorial, if you want to call it that, but let's just call it an experiment to see if I can give myself a halfway decent new palm on my blocker. Let's give her a shot. All right, so the first thing I have to do is go through my leather, find the best bit. This feels pretty glove-like, pretty soft, pretty flexible. Once I've got that, I can go ahead and start pulling out the old palm. So what this entails really is just finding an exposed stitch, popping it out, and just start ripping. And this process took forever. I think it probably took me all told about 2 hours to remove the palm. Obviously not going to show you all of that footage, just the highlights, because I'm being very careful here. I'm using a sewing awl and an X-Acto knife and some scissors to just carefully go around the entire thing and pop every single stitch until that palm comes free. I want to make sure that the underlying material stays in good shape and all of those tabs that hold the protectors on don't get wrecked. So again, being very careful as I go through and pop out all these stitches, and then finally, after a lot of work, that palm does finally come free. And once I have that, this ugly piece of beaten up leather, I need to make a replacement. So I get out the tracing paper here, and I'm just kind of tracing around where I think the fabric should be. So, I mean, the fingers are pretty beat up and pretty eaten away. Really have to kind of guess at a lot of that. So once I have that all done, I go ahead and put that on top of the leather, and I'm really doing a rough job here. I could probably do a much better job if I took a little bit of time, but I thought, I'm just going to give this a shot, see if it works. So this is a really rough cutout of all of these pieces. So I'm cutting out the main part of the palm, and then I'm also cutting out reinforcement part. Go and get those all punched and then start sewing them in. And again, this process took a long time. This is again probably another hour and a half, 2 hours of sewing here, making sure all those tabs are sewed in, making sure it's got a secure place on the under part that's actually attaching into the leather. And it is just a single stitch here. I may not be strong enough long term. I may have to go back and redo some of that. But, it's just going around and tediously sewing down every little bit, every part of the finger, and making sure that it's all properly secured. Once you do that, go back down, make sure that it's sewn into the cuff, make sure that it's secured down by the wrist area. And then I made a mistake here because that reinforced palm, I didn't sew in place first. So then after all of this is said and done, I had to go back in and sew from the inside of the glove to secure back down that reinforced area for the palm. But once that's done, the glove is ready to go, and you go from this to this. All right, so that took a little longer than I expected, but there we go. We have the finished glove. Now, I definitely learned some lessons along the way. The stitching in here is probably going to need to be reinforced at some point. It's just single stitch, so it probably will need to be doubled up on just to make sure that it'll hold up to the rigors of a hockey game. I would definitely, the next time I do this, sewing in this reinforced patch. I would definitely put that on before I put the palm into the glove. For a couple hours work with some leftover leather, I think this worked out really well. Saved me $100 or having to go buy an all new blocker. So if you've got a chance to try this out on your own, please let me know how it goes, or if you have suggestions on how to make this process better, or suggestions or questions or anything like that, please drop a line in the comments down below. Let me know how you repair your equipment. Do you take it out to be professionally repaired, or do you do it at home yourself? But hey, I'm not trying to sell you anything. I am just saving the blocker so the blocker can make the saves. I'm Reviewy McReviewface. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you next review. Big save!